Hey everyone, welcome to Plotting and Scheming, the Grand Arena focused podcast centered around about the top 100 of Kyber 1. I am once again joined by my regular co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, it is the preview for the 5 vs 5 season. We've got our second run of Conquest for set 19 wrapping up. I've got an Erodium for the first round, so I get to learn nothing. But I've kept myself busy in the off week with, some remods and stuff that I'll talk about in a minute. But how about you, Dagger? What's up with you?
I'm in Kyber 3 now, so that's fun.
Woo! Look at you having Kyber in your name now.
Also, it would have been fun for you to change your shirt or your hat so they wouldn't see you wearing the same thing 3 videos in a row. To know we all did them in the same.
Oh, you think I'm releasing them in order of recording? Do you?
No, I don't. What I think is that if people watch 3 videos, they're going to see you wearing the same thing.
Yeah, I am shockingly not worried about that.
Okay,
that's
fair.
Not worried about that at all. They can think that I sit in this place with one.
That's what I was
set
gonna
of
say. He just sits in his own filth.
That's right. I'm out here like
PNS. He just sits there and takes it. Yeah, he knows what's up.
This is the long dick episode. The long.
That's what I said. This is the long PNS. This is the proper PNS episode, correct?
Yeah, unabridged.
Unabridged. I like it. That's good. That's got girth.
Unabridged
that's got girth.
PNS. Yes,
that carries weight.
It's very good. Very good. All right. Well, TJ, how are you?
We're going to shaft you of this content this time.
Oh,
that's right.
Terrible.
I live right at the tip.
Dreadful, both of you. Shame. TJ, how you doing?
Dude, I'm excited, man. Round 1 of the 5Z cheesy stuff got Arnold, so it's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, that is exciting, man.
I DM'd him. We'll see. The last time I DM'd him, he missed it, and we didn't get to do anything. So I'll wait to see what he says. But if not, we'll go to war. We'll bring the Hounds of War, and we'll see what's going to happen and what we'll do. So it'll be fun.
All right, dig that, man. Sasha Aisha, how about you? How's the off week treated you? What are you looking forward to start? What's good?
Yeah, I tend to take a full-on break from the game when it's a down GAC week, and I did very, very much that this past week. I don't think I had any changes to my roster, to be honest, and I maybe a few tweaks that I did early on with some data crunch, but nothing particularly major. So it's helping to sort of refresh my outlook on the game a little bit. So not coming in really extra like locked and loaded, but doing it hopefully with a little more revived energy at least.
All right. Yeah. Good break refreshes the interest. And Fatal, last but never least, how about you? What's popping here for the start of the season?
Yeah, my expectations are that we're returning to a cheese fest, and so I'm kind of just I don't really bother spending time cooking anything or rebotting anything. The biggest question I guess will be week 2, get ready for Ray but even then it's if you don't have any pressure anywhere else on the board, then the inevitable fate of Ray will just be to get fucking dunked, I assume. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to have finally done some rank repairing, but also we're in a season where I'm I don't think I have the mental constitution to try hard 9 cheese rounds. So I don't
Gotta do it, man. Life on the razor's edge. Gotta earn your way up to those Erodium matchups,
I'm not earning shit. I don't know. I'm probably gonna start throwing matches again just to find interesting fights. It's fine. It's not that hard to fix.
That's fair, man. All right, guys. We have a good agenda to go through here. First, a perennial favorite, preparations, any new key relics, Datacron rerolls, remods, or tweaks. I'll be happy to go first. I did mark off a couple units to showcase. I really wanted to pack a lot more offense onto Revan. Over time, his health had gone up. I want to say I've had him as close as 100,000 health, but keeping the 350 speed, I decided to trade off some health to pick up way more offense. So when I say way more, I want to say I was 11.3k. So this is a huge gain compared to just prior to lock. That's one item. Jar Jar, I just wanted to pack a lot more offense on him. He's been up close to around 340. I was willing to trade a little speed, keep his potency about the same, but then pack on a good chunk of offense. Great mothers. Really insightful conversation. Let me make sure that I give the shout out for that because that was really good today. But somebody on my Discord here, Dr. Avihas, brought up a really interesting question about why does everybody have health primaries on Great Mothers? Doesn't Prot scale better? And I sat there and did the math with them. And, I had a couple errors that I had to correct. I will cop to that. But in the end, we got the right answer. And the answer is, in TW, Prot wins. And that's with the extra 30% health from the active Omicron there. And without it, Prot wins harder. So Prot was the answer. And I shifted her over. We were about 344 speed. So we traded off a little speed, but really bulked up the Prot, and then kept the offense, special offense, just a stretch goal of mine to keep her up over 13K special. That AoE from Magic Storm, maybe the one time she ever gets it off, I just want that to slap.
You get that triangle fixed?
Here on Great Mothers? Something wrong with it. You were thinking about Morgan. That's just a constraint where... Yeah, no, I didn't fix it, but that's a constraint I'm working on, is the answer to that one. And then Night Trooper, just I'm having to save up. I just have it earmarked to save up 150 attenuators one day to slice this cross, to try and get the last slice, to either go to percent offense or to speed. Either one I'd be delighted with, but he's huge. High health, high speed, respectable offense, and good potency. Blight is going down. And then Bausch, just more tweaks here in the off week. We've got her just a smidge under 100,000 health, 325 speed, just over 200% potency, and then just over 15,000 special offense. I know that I don't have a lot of added crit damage here, but I've surveyed a lot of the folks running this offense build, and quite a few of them really aren't adding much.
She gives herself crit chance, and her mastery gives her some too, so she... Yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth, and I'm not at all mad about it. It looks like you can get away without it, so, focus on the other items. The offense, the health, the speed.
And Fatal can correct my math, but I think she ends up with functionally an additional 40% crit chance, which puts her around 75, which is an acceptable starting point.
Yeah. It's an acceptable starting point, but I was going to shout out that with a lot of the characters you were just talking about, it's funny, set 16, I ended up using Attacker Kron a lot with Darth Revan, and that kind of keyed me into that his base crit chance is actually, really fucking underwhelming. And so, if you're interested in Darth Revan's damage output, I would actually also say, look at his crit chance. Great Mother's crit chance, if you're interested in their damage, can also really favor crit chance secondaries, and then, Bausch is, if you're, I think Bausch had light side buffs in a lot of her early seasons that it kind of did that. It rounded off that heavy lifting that people never really needed to think about it because the crit chance up. Yep. But now that she's on her own, if you want guaranteed always doing the damage pressure roll, she does benefit from a bit of extra crit chance sneak.
Yeah, you want to try and get her starting around 90%ish, 85 to 90. That's my personal goal for a lot of these characters, is getting their starting crit chance to about 85, 90%. That way when they start stacking or scaling, they get up to about 100, 105. That'll get them past most CA masteries the majority of the time.
So realistically, you're only asking me to put on another 5, 10%.
Oh, 15.
For Bausch, is it 25, depending on how much CA you're trying to plan around?
Not any particular amount of CA, but fair point. No, I appreciate that feedback, guys, because that's a work in progress, and I'm always farming up more of these sets, so we'll see. But yeah, that wraps it up for me. As far as Datacrons goes, just flush things out. Re-rolled for some stats, push the armor penetration ones more towards armor pen, offense ones more towards offense, tried to purify a couple crons that way. Got myself a couple more riposte options, because I felt myself. I'm not going to be as constrained on them in 5s as I was in 3s, but anyway. That's about it, really. I made sure that I got more light side. I made sure I had a good balance of dark and light side out of set 19, knowing that this is the last run for set 18, last season. So that was just something I had in mind. But that's it for me. Dagger, how about you? Any preparations of note here in the off season?
I'm not going to tear up any mods until next week for obvious reasons. But I do have like some TW remodding to do. I have some stuff to do once we get the additional character.
Yeah, Darkside Ray for everybody watching this episode out there.
Oh
is coming out
sorry,
next week.
We just talked about it at length today. So.
Yeah, Ray Darkside Vision. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was the name the whole time. We never strayed.
That's right. That's right.
So outside of the new characters, which I'm just going to, at this point, unless a team actually is necessary, because they already announced that the Bad Batch team wouldn't be necessary there's no Journey Guide character at the end of this era. So because of that, I'm not really going in on the Bad Batch team, so I'll just slow farm them. But outside of the 2 new characters, I have everything else R9, so I haven't really done anything to my roster.
Fair. Very fair. All right. TJ, any preparations of note for you this week?
Getting my troopers aligned. I expect to have a lot more trooper fun, I think is what it was. So making sure my magma was
talk
full.
to us about that. What kind? Was it, I assume you want 1 grit, because the grit with Iden...
I've got a couple of them. I think there's a lot of ways to work your troopers out and how you want to split them and where they're going to go. And we could talk to each piece, but obviously the buffs on basics, that's an amazing one for your troopers if you're going with the setup. Making sure your magma, if you're wanting to do the cheese and work your magma in to do it so that way he can't be hit, and depending on what you want to kill on that. So I know we talked about how that is, so making sure that he's got like 1 less health than your Veers, or whatever it is, if you're trying to set that up. And then Snow Trooper, because I tried it and I called it out and I didn't get to stay on, but Snow Trooper is so much fun. It was in 3s against Saw with Luther, because you have 4 characters, so your Snow Trooper just basically goes, and then there's your loop. He just will stay going as long as there's characters to hit if you've built them correctly. So I leaned into that more, because now we'll have 5 or 6 characters to get to do that on, and Snow will be the in forever go. So troopers are going to be a lot of fun, I think, and how we get to split them up and use them is going to be cool. I know you talked about the light side bulk and definitely want to have it, but wanted to make sure I had one. The grit was cool. 25% turn meter. There's nothing wrong with going first, and that does get to change your fight up. That you get to do other things with that. So I wanted to make sure I had a good 5, 6, 7. 25% turn meters, just in case whatever's going to happen.
Call.
And when we go into 3s, having that align, right? And the stats are so good right now. And then what we didn't talk about, and I always took from you, and I said one of my fun ones was the bros. So getting a good tenacity cron for the dark side, tenacity with like light side, potency, same thing, right? It's like those mechanics that you're probably going to need, that if you didn't build it out in your modding, that the data crunch was going to carry you for it. So those are my big things of looking at, because naturally you could easily roll 20-30% offense just without having to re-roll.
Fair. Very fair. All right, Sasha, turning your way. Preparations. Well, wait, we already talked to you here in the opener about how you really didn't do much, so I'm expecting that's pretty much a zilch for you, yeah? Just had your feet up.
Covered.
All right, good. All right, and Fatal, how about you? Anything interesting? I know you said you're thinking it's going to be mostly a cheese season, so nothing really grabbed your eye to make sure you had aligned, yada yada.
Yeah, my expectations. I mean, like, I had this season pinned like months ago. It was like, okay, crowns are de-escalating, which means we're going to fall back to normal dynamics, and for 5v5, that does not bode well. I'm kind of just, like Dagger said, just gonna waiting for Ray, just to try to have some fun with that team. B, I'm probably just gonna look at trends and then see if I can just go back to scamming people. That's the thing that I was doing in 5v5 before, just like put a bunch of rakes on defense and see if I can get people to step on them and then take a funny screenshot when it happens, be like, haha, and then still hate the offense phase, but whatever gets you through the season. So I'm not really doing anything interesting at all for this week. But just kind of gonna see what people's habits are and then see if I can exploit them next week.
Dig that. All right. Well, guys, we talked about it here in the pre-show. There's not a lot of new topics really to go in here. So, yeah, it's pretty loose agenda-wise on that. But we do have a wealth of Patreon questions to go into tonight. So let me flip over to that and make sure we get started here. All right, first one, up from Stryker. What's the panel's opinion on the best composition of Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano with a Datacron on defense? Is it better to put ATF in with her Datacron, or is it better to put her under a Leia lead and use the quote-unquote standard Spectre lineup? If so, which Datacron level 9 would you select? Sabine or Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano herself? Jump into it, guys. Yeah, we don't have to do round robin for this part.
I don't know that you would necessarily choose between Sabine or Fulcrum, depending. Or I don't think it's that cut and dry that you're like. Well,
I think they're asking in terms of Kron, right? Like which way to go with Kron. Like are you always like first he's asking, are you always using Fulcrum with Ahsoka Tano, or would you do something like split her off with Leia? And if you did something like splitting Fulcrum away from Ahsoka Tano, would you run Sabine Kron or Galactic Legend Leia level 9? Like that's what they're going for.
The responsible answer probably is to put Fulcrum in Ahsoka. But
because Magma still exists?
Yeah, and I really want to go wide, and so I'm probably going to go wide, and no one else should fucking do it because it's a very bad idea right now. But I personally will probably not be doing that. But if your goal is to make a challenging team in which people might do stuff that would fail, you should probably put Fulcrum in there.
All right, very fair. Any other thoughts from you guys on this one?
No, I mean, I do feel that kind of call of responsibility, like when a cheap counter is become that widely known, that and one that I like, as long as a Magma Datacron is somewhere in the collection of an opponent, it's hard for me not to put Fulcrum in there. It's tantalizing because I think Fulcrum can be fun to throw in a bunch of other combos, and so that's a possibility. And I guess the only other consideration would be to possibly flip that on its head a little bit and say, hey, yeah, Fulcrum's going to go either with Leia, or Fulcrum's going to go with an Ufu squad, or Fulcrum's going to go something goofy with like an Admiral Akbar squad or something. And my Spectre squad is going on offense because I've got some valuable target in mind for them. That would be the other thing. As long as there's some like other really like solid squad that you can move to defense that is like approximately a GL level to replace Spectre. That's the other thing that I've kind of bounced around, but haven't settled on anything.
If you are taking the Spectres to offense, are you keeping Ezra in, or are you splitting him out?
Yeah, that is a great question. I would love to be able to split him, right? Because if there is some reliable, valuable target, and the reality is that like the upper end of this game, if you find it, then that target won't be there the next week probably. But if there is something that's cool that you can do without Ezra, how cool would that be, right? If you could repurpose Fulcrum someplace, repurpose Ezra. Yeah. So no, Fatal, I don't have a good answer for you yet, but I have
I don't know.
It's just a dream.
I think that's something. I think that's cooking right there. If Fulcrum is essentially going to be a must, if you're putting Galactic Legend Ahsoka on defense just to ward off this cheese, then if that's going to be the floor to ward it off, why not part out Ezra and you'll get the 100% extra health and protection, and just buff up your raid team.
Love the idea.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. And just out of curiosity, guys, I guess then it would be Ezra. Yeah, that is the best choice. I was just about to ask, like, who would your default dropout of the Ahsoka team be to have Fulcrum in there? And I guess if you're trying to have this value play, it would be Ezra. But if you were inclined to keep Ezra in there for any reason, who would it be? Who would you drop?
Sorry, if we're talking about a defense, I think you 100% have to keep him.
You'd also have to keep Ezra in there?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was more so saying for Ahsoka on offense.
If
you're
okay,
leaning
fair.
on optimization of player play, then maybe you don't need every single toy stacked.
Okay. So, all right, let's take that forward then. So, if you're going to have Galactic Legend Ahsoka, Fulcrum, and Exile Ezra together, who are your last two? Who you're dropping? Syndulla and who?
I'm hanging on to probably Syndulla and Hu Yang and leaning heavily on Fulcrum as a damage dealer.
Right. Yeah, you're losing that AOE damage from Padawan Sabine there, but
Yeah, Fulcrum I just is such an effective damage dealer there with the scaling of mastery over time that I kind of feel like I can trade off Sabine. And both Syndulla and Hu Yang bring more than just damage to the table, so that's kind of where I would lean. Yeah.
completely agree. Yeah, I mean, she's taking so many more turns with her Kron, so that at least partially compensates for the lack of AOE damage on a per turn basis. But all right, good exploration of that question. Next one from Stryker: do any of the Tusken Datacrons make them a viable defensive team in 5 versus 5? For my part, I'm not feeling it. I'm not thinking so. Certainly, I can't imagine that being a real thing. Top 100, maybe even top 200 of Kyber 1. But outside of that, I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Probably Raider and Chieftain wouldn't be useless, but just off the top of my head, nothing makes me just giddy to try on defense in 5s. Like this is a more tame Tusken Kron than sets prior. I'd say. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't see it.
All right, well, that was easy.
3v3 is usually the Tusken wheelhouse, and the Datacron didn't even I don't even think I equipped it. My Tuskens were always on defense, and I was just like, okay, grab my highest health Kron. That will be the Tusken Datacron, because trying to make the Raiders hard to kill is like the actual end game.
And there's no real mechanic that's doing the cheese part of bringing back your Raiders. So it's like, that's cool. And the idea of being able to stop things, and it can probably stop some other things that want to take a million turns. That's great. But with everything out there, you only have, 11 slots? That does not account to being where you need to be, and it not being agreed with everything. It's a 3 staple. But on 5, no, man. That's just not. You have no expectation from that Omicron. If nothing else, sure, they can put some blind out there, and yeah, they can put 25%. So we'll just stop it. You have too much going in. That is be tough to do or hold anything right now when you have so much on offense.
Fair. All right. Next question up from Frick Frack Patty Whack. Can you speak to Mon Mothma / Luthen's offensive viability without the Powcron? So I'm not the one usually running this. I like Saw on defense, and it's been decent for me the last couple of metas. When I do have Mon Mothma for offense, it's generally without Luthen, and that's relegated to something like a Jabba cleanup, a Lord Vader cleanup, something of the kind. How about those of you with real experience in the wake of the expiration of, the Luthen Kron or whatever specific Datacron was carrying that at first? What can we take on with that team these days?
Your Riposte Datacron, and the fact that you have what I will call, I don't know if Fata will call it or anybody else, but Luthen Kron. Luthen is a Kron to the team. And if you're willing to bring it on offense, and you have Rebel Riposte right now on a team who will basically do infinite out of turn attacks, yes, please.
Well,
Ceiling on the limit.
let's put this in real terms though. Like when we had the Luthenkron, I think it was basically all of the GLs it could take on, or I want to say at least 6 of 8 at the time. Where are we at now? What like who can you do? Who can't you do?
I mean, you're still up to Leia.
I'm overwhelmingly sure that you can kill Leia, Lord Vader, JML, those 3 for sure, like without a doubt.
And
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
I think you can beat. I've seen a couple people in Arena beat C, although I don't know how reliable it is based on comps. I think that there might be a JMK version you can beat, or there might be a version of this team that you can beat with JMK. Because I know you're doing that with Luthenkron, not with Powkron. It all depends on how much risk you're willing to take. Because some of these things I'm saying are you can win, but I don't know. It's somewhere between like the slider, somewhere between like 30 and 70%. You know what I mean?
Sure, but those first 3 answers were something that's I think that's the essence of the question here. Is what's dependable these days? And you said those first 3 GLs.
Yeah. So I'm confident that if you put in the mods and the relics onto your team, so roughly relic parity, like you're one.
Agreed.
If they're relic 8, you're relic 7, right? Like you can't be super under relic because you'll just die.
That was the other thing we learned the hard way, and I was going to say yes,
I think
relics.
you're somewhere between 85 and 95% based on comp.
Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about using this comp, is it always the same 5 characters? And if so,
No.
which? What are we dealing with here?
No, so the core is going to be obviously Mon Mothma and Luthen, and usually Scout and Pow. And then the 5th will be something like Kyle, Kara, or Krex.
Let's say you can drop a POW, and again, I'm not saying that, but I've seen if you can add Krex, you're adding a level. If you're adding Krex, you're adding a level, in my opinion. Kyle brings a lot more to the team as well too, depending on how you want to do it. But I definitely agree that Luthen 1 has to be there to bump up, right? That's an automatic. Just here, we're up to GL level of being able to kill something, and then now you're gonna start adding in things. But it's like, don't forget, Rebels have a Datacron allowing to get bulk and offensive stats to make big things go boom, and getting riposte, and especially my Mothma with the full team going under protection and taking 1,000,000 out of turn attacks. That's easy money to do big things.
Yeah, so basically the way you want to look at it is Kyle doesn't add a ton outside of just being additional damage, but most of the time damage is only a problem if you're under relic. So basically the point I'm trying to make here is like if you're going against, let's say you're going to try to take a Leia team or a Jabba team, Krex is your 5th. Right? Because like the only question about Jabba is can you withstand the opener and get meaningful turns before they hit contract? If they hit contract, again, like Jabba's one of the lower percent ones, I think, but I think that it still has like some options. Against JML, you want Krex because you want the days. Against Lord Vader, I prefer Kara because Kyle doesn't gain turn meter from the summon, so you're not going first anyways. So you have to
usually there's Empire on the team.
Yeah, and their entire team is Empire, so she can stun the team in TMR.
Just an easy money shot of that team has Empire on it. You will use Empire. Kara loves it.
The other reason you take Kara is because TJ got his booty hole blown out by Gar ISC.
Oh.
That was a good one. That was good. But that goes to relic disparity.
Yes, that's also because TJ's a broke.
That was TJ took and everything is the same, and that is not true. And that's why I said look at the relics because it is not all equal the same, right? This worked for me. Well, what were your relics? Well, the relics were equal, and I was like, oh, well, that's a good thing to know. But like I said, this cron set gives you added leverage to do more things and can lighten the team some, in my opinion. Having again those pieces to being able to do bulky good stuff with high offensive stats and being able to push it. And I don't know. I know you said Kyle's not on there, but I'll tell you some fun things I've got to do with Kyle. When you do Luthen's Passover, when you're like calling in the side droid or the side piece, and then you give that to Kyle, when that side piece goes, Kyle will delete somebody. The numbers are huge, but again, it's also amped up. This cron will do that as well. So I'm Dagger's not wrong. It's just like every layer you add something. If you add Luthen at a base and then you add Krex, you get to do more things, right? And then now the other pieces become like, I'm going to add this for that. Scout's a great one.
I was more critical against Ray specifically, and again, I don't know how reliable this is right now, but you drop Scout, and then you do Kara and Kyle, so you have more damage output. And between Kara and Pow, you have enough turn meter manipulation to where you should be able to win. But again, like without the Powcron, it's a lot harder.
Right.
But yeah, I am. Also, I honestly believe that there's a version of Mon Mothma with Krex that beats Ahsoka as well. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how reliable it'll be.
I would assume you're saying Ahsoka non-ATF.
Yeah, oh, you're not beating ATF for shit.
Yeah,
That's why I just wanted to call it out. I just
Turn meter into
for the
bonus
point
turns.
of leveraging the floor, because it's like I heard on the PNS I could take this versus Ahsoka.
Quick question.
Well, what beat you? Oh, ATF.
I put a little write-up on screen just to track what you're saying, but you'll notice that when what I have here, Kyle really isn't reflected. So is there a time when Kyle is actually very highly desirable? I think you get an AoE dispel on your own team, so maybe Lord Vader, but like, I don't know. Who are you dropping and when for Kyle?
Versus Lord Vader, if they don't have Gar and ISC, Kyle's fine just for the extra damage output to close the fight.
Instead of Kara, but you're not dropping any of the first four.
No. So the problem with the Mon Mothma team is that their team lacks the damage, and when I say their team, I don't mean Kyle, right? Like you want to build like I built Hoth Rebel Scout and POW with offense sets, just so they share a little bit of offense to help close the fight out. Because Mon Mothma's a non-combat character, Luthen's a non-combat character, and then somehow you have to like technically he's not a non-combat character. I understand, but the point of Luthen is that he buffs other people, and he's not really like he himself isn't doing a shit ton of damage.
I'm still a fan of Kyle over, but then again, this is preference on the thing. So even on Leia,
that's because you have an R8. Well, that's because you have an R8 Kyle.
No, I have an R9 Kyle. Maybe R8.
All right, but the point being is that you actually can remember that relic levels give you more offense, which the team shares. The other problem is that the Mon Mothma summon, he does not share. He gains stats, but he doesn't share. And actually, I'm not even sure if he gains stats from Mon Mothma lead, because I don't remember how the thing works if he's summoned before her lead kicks in. He might. I don't know. Somebody would have to tell me whether that is true or not. But Kyle does not get the turn meter from that summon, which means he's not outrunning GLs. And the only downside to Kyle is that he's mostly just damage with minor amounts of utility.
If you put Luthen before Kyle, would it count?
No, I tried that. It's dumb.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. You're saying in order. It's like, yeah,
I tried
don't
that.
think
He only gains the 30% TM. But if you can get him to go before Lord Vader and then just basic Lord Vader, like you would win. Or, you know what I mean? Like, if you could get him to go before GLs and he could just basic somebody for the ability block, like that's really good. But,
fair.
I think the team has a really high ceiling, but you need to mod your team. Like, I'm not even sure that you don't put offense mods on your Mon Mothma.
Yeah, right, you said that before. And folks, if you're looking at this on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, the link to each of our Swugga.gg accounts is there, so you can take a look at how each of us have our Mon Mothma team set up.
Look at mine.
Check out Daggers. Yeah, if Daggers doesn't have it right, flame him in the comments and shame him for talking about his good offense mods on them when he's got them in like bum broken pilot mods right now.
When I was using this team, but yeah, I'll eventually I don't want. See, the problem is if I say anything about this, it's like the terms of service shit, right? But it's like the mods on my account are currently really fucked, and I'm trying to fix them, so I don't have the depth in the speed or offense mods to start working on teams that are what's the term? Not frivolent, but luxury teams. I don't have the depth to stretch to the luxury teams right now.
I think you nailed. I think the one thing to take away and the public service announcement is you really do need to have the disparity. You need to have the relics up there. You need to have the mod. You need to have your team modded.
Take a bulk level 3 for fuck's sake.
That's what I'm saying. And you have a Datacron that is going to Rebels. It's literally like mindless to not have something like that. And the stats are on there.
As appealing as the stacking offense or buffs or whatever the other level 3 is that you could have, like, take the bulk, because that way, against things like Jabba, you have a better chance of withstanding the opening salvo. Because that's really one of the problems you run into against most GLs, is that they have some kind of mechanic, like Lord Vader puts dots on you so you can't gain turn meter, and then he dazes you so you can't... Right, so you need to just survive that opening onslaught, and if you lose 2 characters, it's pretty close to over, depending on who that second character you lose is, because if Mon Mothma revives the wrong one, that's TKO. But if they only kill 1 character, you just revive and you're off to the races.
Yep.
All right, dig that. All right, next question here, also from Frick. Do you have any fun ideas for the new Omega this week as a plug and play or with Bad Batch? I imagine Fatal's got some ideas, but I am. I've seen that cheese with Darth Nihilus. I don't know. I'm not planning on setting her on defense. That's the answer for me. And if I hear of or see some really neat, trade up opportunity, I'm not above trying it. So I keep my ear to the ground.
I would be really interested to know if anybody has ever seen her want to use that ability reset as a thing. I don't think I've ever seen one time where she's going in and that's the first thing she's doing.
It very likely has healer mechanic coding where the AI won't use it unless somebody needs saving.
And then the worry is about if you're using it on offense, if we're anticipating a cheesy season, your banners have to be right, so you can't be wrong about using this.
Can you do Nihilus lead? That way he takes damage and she heals him?
I thought they said that was something about that being bugged or whatever it was, that is not working as intended when it came specifically to him. Her on the team with his lead.
I don't think it's related to his lead. I think they're just saying they're considering whether or not Omega being able to cooldown reset people outside of her faction is being looked at as like, is this too good?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's and I won't be surprised if they do make that change, because they did something similar for Hux back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because Hux was really stupid.
Yeah, Vanilla Hux was insane.
Well, they've done it time and time again where they had it everywhere, and then they decided we're gonna bring this within the house. You don't get to play outside of your team, right? Your friends.
Well, the other reason that Hux was so busted was because, first of all, I think R7 was the cap. Second, you could gear 12 him at 3 stars and put 6 dot mods on him. That was the other reason Hux was so nutters.
Fair.
Yeah, it was a quality control failure there.
Yeah. The fact that you could just have this character in your best mods at 3-star gear 12.
All good times. All right. I don't know. I don't think I have any clever uses, so sorry if that doesn't give you everything that you're hoping for, Frick, but I'll be keeping my ears open.
I think we all will. I think everybody wants to use it, but that's a tough ask, and there's nothing really to push her to be able to get in front of anything. You can't do any cheeky thing, I think, to be able to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be enough players that are going to be fighting teams that are on the bottom front wall where it's feasible for you to sit there and think, I might risk this. They're not every opponent's going to have the bottom front wall packed with GL requiring teams, to beat. So some folks are going to try it, and it's going to emerge in the first couple days, just like that sortie thing did, that sortie counter a couple metas back.
Yeah.
That droids counter. It'll just be here in a couple days, so just a matter of time. All right. Let's see here. Where did that go? Next question from Sheepdog47. Is there a Ray comp with the new Datacron set, so set 19, possibly Fulcrum, that can stop Seer, Malicos, Starkiller. So this is also assuming the Set 18 Starkiller Cron, which is active for just the rest of this season. But yeah, the question again was, is there a Ray comp with the new Datacron set, possibly Fulcrum, that can stop Seer, Malicos, Starkiller? If you don't have Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. So, at first we might say, well, why don't you want her with your Ahsoka? He doesn't have Ahsoka. So what do you think about that?
Ezra L3, I guess.
Right.
Ezra L3.
You could get... So there you could try the sortie thing if you want to try to put the VIP correctly to try to mess with things. That would be fun. Who said it?
With Fulcrum, I definitely think you... unless you... and this is what I was saying. If you put your Fulcrum in defense sets and you give her VIP... I think that with Ezra is going to be super nasty. Also, I'm going to remove you from your own server if you call her Glad. Just call her Ahsoka like an adult.
I call her Ahsoka in spoken text, but I don't mind writing the acronym.
Right. I'm removing you from your own server.
I don't believe you.
You don't get to play in your own house anymore, Cass.
I guess not.
Sleep on the couch.
I guess
You're
not. Out. But yeah, I'm going to write out just as a
not having a Ahsoka. I could see it, but I could also say giving Ezra VIP, and that was what I was referencing to playing with some of the fights. You don't get to touch the Ezra because that's one of the pieces, right? Is stopping the Ezra from doing things, shenanigans. And if you could set him up to where he gets VIP and he gets to hide away and tucked under, that is a gross sentiment because Ezra can delete your team. He has that ability that
you can just keep him stun locked. Oh no, this is Seer Lead. Never mind. Not EP.
Right. No, you're thinking of the Fatal. You got the setup and the one difference and all that.
No, so the answer is the only thing that will stop your opponent from losing to your, in my opinion, the only thing that will stop your opponent from beating your Rey with their Seer Malico Starkiller team is your opponent being bad. Otherwise, I don't. That's such a powerful team with the Starkiller Cron.
And now you have more bulk. Or, I'm sorry, more dark side characters. So you're adding more to your team.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe Fatal has some insight, but I don't. Seer Malico's SK in a 5v5 is so strong.
With SK Cron.
Yeah, with baby Cal and crew, that's just... I don't know.
Yeah. So probably nothing's going to stop it, yeah?
I don't say I'm not really well equipped to comment on it just because I've never held Malicos, and so I have no idea about how the fight flows or if there's any friction.
Well, I can tell you this much from last season. Now we didn't have set 19 to fight, but I mean, I'm sure I'm still going to see enough Rays running a Balin Cron this season.
I was going to say Balin Cron,
yeah,
right?
I'm not too worried about set 19 in particular.
Balin Cron, man.
But in the spirit of the question, as asked, if Fulcrum certainly seems to be one of the deadlier ways to set up Rey. You already said that you're not having Galactic Legend Ahsoka. So, yeah, Rey, Swallow, Exile Ezra, Fulcrum, and then, L3 is a generically good choice. Why would you say L3 over GK just right straight out the gate for certain, Dagger? Or Xeris or Sortie or something else,
Because L3 has a refreshing pre-taunt. And the entire point of the Rey team is to get 3 turns into the battle so Rey can ult.
Well, I would say you could also, because you're doing ATF and you're doing an UFU thing, putting Cal on that team has always been a gross sentiment. So there's no problem with adding Cal as your 5th.
Oh, Cal instead of L3.
But the other thing to remember too is if you're at this point where you're putting Ezra and Ezra and Fulcrum on this team with the Fulcrum Cron, at that point just put Cat there. I'm not even kidding. At that point, just put Cat there.
No, and you're doing an UFU Cron, so yes, that's already adding it. So I could definitely see if you're gonna invest, putting Cat version of damage, dude.
JMK Bad Batch is still fine-ish against a bunch of teams.
Thinking of Cat, a properly built Cat, or a ATF with Cat offense in the back end. Every time she goes, that's some fast deletes.
Otherwise, yeah, like in the spirit of the question, I think the real answer is if you have a Balencron, you're probably slapping that on your Ray Ben Fulcrum Cal team.
Fair. Okay. All right. Yeah.
It takes a higher investment L3, and I don't really know the ramifications of this. That I'm not actually like advocating it, but I'm just putting it out into the world. Ray Watt L3 does funny things that throws people off the normal flow of the fight.
Yeah.
That if your L3 is up to snuff, I'm not saying it's good.
Like prop built R8, R9 kind of up to snuff.
Doesn't even have to be protection necessarily, because I guess we're kind of like, you kind of have to respect Malikos riposte or something. I guess I would literally just like generically slap like defense and health and protection secondaries and just be like, this is your problem now. But I know I was running scams with L3 Watt Ray a few seasons ago when there wasn't anything better to do before Ezra came out. That, yeah, I think a lot of Starkiller Malikos players, I imagine, are used to having things just go their way. That, like, if you had something high pressure like Fulcrum and something that's like fairly stubborn to get around, like L3 Watt, that actually might like make a bit of breathing room, and then it would
Or
just crumble
Baze.
to something else.
If you have a really built Baze, that might be good too because of how many buffs that team generates. He'll be taking a shit ton of turns.
Okay, does Starkiller Malikos care? Like, is it trying to do like dispels or something like that? Where like
the initial dispel, just to get around that first CI and taunt.
Is there anything that a tank tech on L3 is doing to Starkiller Malikos?
No, because you just barrel throw and then they don't taunt anymore.
But that's only on Unleashed, right?
Is it?
I think.
I never remember which part of that it's on.
It doesn't really. It's not really jamming you up either way. I think, because here's the thing with Starkiller's level 9. He gets you have your first dispel and it's like, I might be out of a dispel for a little bit. He gets to unleash so fast that I'm often doing another dispel because it's convenient. There's offense up, a bunch of stuff I just want to remove, and then I'm saving the ship drop one turn.
I might fuck with it this season if there's nothing else to do, because I mean, the thing I'm really bad at doing is picking up threads when there's like, okay, a Datacron releases and 4 months pass. That thread is just like dead in my mind. I mean, my L3 is a R9, I should also say, so it's easier for me to say than for most. But I don't know. Yeah, I might mess around with it. Could be fun.
Fair. All right, yeah.
One little bit to add on
please do.
I'll say this kind of touches back on, like, I've only used that counter once with your Malikos Starkiller Tron. And the one moment.
Oh, you're breaking up on us a little bit, buddy.
/ terror I had with it was that. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you came back. Okay, start.
Can you hear me
again?
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I think Dagger kind of alluded to, like, it's probably dependent on user error, and I think the more that we throw, whether it's a cat and some other factors out there, I actually think that the real looming risk that you can present is a super jacked up, unattended to Ben. I think Ben can. Sorry, we've got some neighbor dogs chasing here, but I think Ben was the only time that I've really seen that present a huge risk, because he does this brutal AoE, goes under protection, and you can potentially lose part of that Seer Malikos SK squad there.
Yeah, and if you've got Exile Ezra and Fulcrum in there, those are other threats you can't just afford to leave unmanaged. So to your point, giving more latitude for Ben to get turns out. I like that. All right, next question, guys. This is from Miasmo. What's the optimized Datacron or possible strategy for using DTMG on Jabba at the moment? So I guess the right way to rephrase this first is DTMG working on Jabba right now? Yes. We have an Imperial Troopercron, so I wonder...
Well, it wouldn't. Yes, it works.
So, I mean, what's that look like? What kind of setup we talking about to do that? So DTMG, Knight, Gideon, Scout. What are we? DTP.
It's with the Pretty. It's almost assuredly with the Pretty Bros.
Both of them. Okay.
Well, at least one of them. Night Trooper is probably slightly better.
It's Night Trooper. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the big
good,
money
because
maker.
having DTP with Great Mothers is a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, then you have Scout, and you can do Enoch or Baby Gideon or OG Gideon.
So I like Death on the team, and the only reason that Death feels really good
Dispel.
there is one, the Dispel, and then obviously you're doing the Death Mark. Those feel really good as a piece. But yeah, strengthening Night Trooper feels super, and it's you called out and what it was, and it feels very relevant to what you said before it's asked. There was the other AoE piece that feels really good, and the fact that he can gain the frenzy. So it's like Knight feels super strong on the team, Scout essential, Death, the Dispel feels great and helps for the impact of what you're doing. Plus, there's build-in of potency and everything else. You're getting to stop and stun a person. So there's a lot of disruption. You get to stop it.
So scenario then, you're facing a Jabba team. It's got set 18, light side, max health damage, level 3. Good jacked up Jabba team. Whatever you think the hairiest comp is. We've talked about the comp. Okay, what's the Datacron you're rocking? Are we doing a set 19 Imperial Trooper or something else?
You want the defense into offense, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
DTMG loves stacking defense.
It does. That's true. And I'm usually telling people when there's not defense on the set, I'm not really trying to pick up that level 6, but there might. Yeah, you've got a point. That 75% defense from DTMG's lead is not inconsiderable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could use something else, but I don't know, how many of them pass out buffs? Is it just Scout and
Night Trooper does buffs. DTMG does buffs. Gideon does buffs.
No. Do they give them to other people? Is what I'm asking.
I think Scout, Gideon. I think that's kind of it. Am I wrong about that? I don't think does DTMG give a buff when he does the third on a target.
Well, okay, so here are your options. Grit, I don't know how good. Well, Grit's probably fine against thermals, but I don't know how necessary that is. There's the damage immunity under 50% health, which I don't think is great. There's the full health and protection to start a turn they deal more damage. I don't think you want that on the DTMG team. Whenever they attack on a turn, they have a 20% chance to remove 10% turn meter. That seems bad on the team. And so I think the two best ones for the team are probably Grit or the 400% defense from offense. But I'm not even sure that either of those. It might just be Grit, if I'm being honest, now that I think about it, just to make the thermals trivial.
Okay, well, that question was to the room. What do you guys say? Same setup as Dagger, or what? How would you take on the roughest Jabba that you think you'll see with your DTMG team?
I'm not sure I understand where the kill pressure comes from. I understand how you don't die, but I don't understand how your screen turns blue. Because usually DTMG kind of needs enemy to be getting turn meter.
Stormtrooper with the defense into offense was my thought.
Well, we weren't talking about that a minute ago when we were talking comps. But yeah.
I mentioned Stormtrooper.
Okay. I might not have heard that. My bad. So DTMG, Gideon, Scout, Stormtrooper, and Night Trooper is what you're saying.
What's like Stormtrooper Dito is like a nuker.
Death over OG Gideon, probably.
Oh. Sorry, what were you saying, Fatal?
No, I was asking, so Stormtrooper with defense to offense is supposed to be like a nuker or something?
Well, it just gives... you also get expose on basic, which helps.
Okay.
We don't have defense on the Kron, but generally Stormtrooper, if you build him for defense... I'd have to go look at the numbers, but the last time we had it, I didn't have very good defense on my DTMG Cron. It was like 30%, or I had one defense roll on like a lower one, and my Stormtrooper was still hitting for like 150 to 180k.
Are you talking? I'm assuming you wouldn't want to start with the turn meter level 3, being that you're fighting Jabba. So, what level 3 are you running? My guess would still be probably buffs up level 3 because you're trying to get squishies out ASAP. You're not trying to ramp a bunch of turns like with stacking offense or the like.
Yeah, I would probably say that. That would just give you like the damage that Fatal was talking about. Either that or the 2 buffs, then you stack your 5% offense.
Right, and
That
that's
one
what I'm
might
saying.
actually-
I don't know that you want to wait that many turns to go by,
Well,
right?
Well, the DTMG team is not really a burst damage team, which is what the buffs on basic is mostly for. I do think that they will get more use out of the 5% stacking. I just don't know if that's versus Jabba specifically.
And that is the spirit of the question. So, what do you guys say? Fatal Sasha, TJ.
I have not had great experience with DTMG against Java squads outside of the Moff Gideon
Yeah, that
Datacron
previous
that's now
Datacron.
dusted.
That's where I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
not inclined to try it myself. I didn't want to poo-poo any of you guys, so I wanted to make sure I gave multiple opportunities for the room to answer on it. But yeah, that
I don't see why it wouldn't work. I don't see why. Like again, we're talking
I'd
about where's
agree.
the slider.
well
right?
for what Fatal's saying is damage. So TJ said he remembers seeing me. I remember when we had the Moff Gideon Kron, I was trying to find how low can you go? How crappy of a DTMG team can you do it? Because everybody was doing it with both of the Peridia troopers. And then I was like, oh, well, let me see what it's like with neither. And I was just shy of doing the damage I needed. With Night Trooper, it was a cinch. So, but I still respected that was a lot of the Datacron doing work. So Fatal was saying he's not seeing the damage. How's the damage getting done?
Yeah, you might need both Peridia brothers there. Like I said, I think that there is a version of DTMG that beats Jabba, but again, we talk about the slider. The slider's been pretty high recently because we had Imperial Remnant Crons. Then we had, you know what I mean? So like the slider's been up towards the 90th percentile. I think the
and it's a pretty favorable meta for Jabba right now. So treat him like the apex predator he is.
I think the slider's back down to 70 to like 85 maybe, where there's a lot of room like for error. And this goes back to what we said about the Mon Mothma team. If you think that your R5s and R7s are going to go in and beat R9s, like you're fooling yourself. Like this team is going to want relatively equal, not close, but like you want your bros. If you're taking Night Trooper, he needs to be R9. Your Death Trooper needs to be R8. To Fatal's point, your damage dealers need to be relicked up.
Okay. Well, if you're inclined to try it, folks, give it a go this week and let us know in the comments. Tell us if we saved your bacon or damned you to eternal fate.
It could just easily be this is where you're going to take your magma cheese. There's potential for it to work in 3s. It's going to work in 5s. So if nothing else, it's like you're deciding, am I going to do DTMG? You could that's where you put your magma cheese and then move along.
All right. Very fair. Okay, next question here, still from Miasmal. Ideal composition, team composition that could be used for Balin without Balin's Set 18 Datacron versus a Rey Ufu squad. So, I don't know. Rey Ufu, let's assume that not everybody's going to have Ahsoka, Galactic Legend Ahsoka, yeah? So we can expect to see, let's assume that Exile Ezra is in the mix with this one, okay? So the question is there a Kron, first of all? And if so, how is it set up from Set 19? Or at the very least, not relying on Balin's bespoke Kron from Set 18. What type of setup would you do absent that Balin Kron? Using Balin versus Rey?
Balin's Kron's not even that good.
I was going to say that's okay, but right now, one of the things I saw that you did that could take it 25% turn meter would be a great startup point to just lock it in front of them. Your problem that you did, Tash, just thinking off rip. Your problem was your Balin got stunned and it was 9-9 to your team.
It was terrible. I don't recommend the experience.
That's what I'm saying, right? So it's like, what do you do in front of it? Well, I'll just save him 25% turn meter. Who's stopping you from doing that? And then now you're off, right? It's like, yeah, she'll probably go. But I'm pretty sure your Balin's going to have some kind of speed, and your team likes that. So getting to go in front feels pretty easy.
25 TM is literally a better effect for the team than anything on Balin Kron.
That's why I told you I'm
Balin
doing
Kron is only
25%.
decent for the stats.
So, all right. So if that's going to be, make sure that we all get out front with a 25%, probably high armor penetration desirable for stats. And sorry, go ahead.
I would say crit damage because the problem is that Merrick is special and Shin is physical.
Well,
Good call.
The direction I'm going with this is Balin as a squad are like pretty much entirely strips the team's defense anyway. Like you have AoE armor shred, you have I forget exactly where it is in the kit beyond the AoE armor shred. But yeah, Balin basically just reduces teams to 0 armor, which is why that team achieves high damage numbers just so effortlessly.
So crit damage then prioritizes a damage stat and then ranked just below that offense?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that? Okay.
I mean, it's like I said, it's just
I do love that Soldier of Fortune 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, right? I get the Soldier of Fortune 6 is great, but the big thing about Balin's team being so good is that Balin goes. Once Balin does something, if you haven't stopped him from doing his thing, they're off to the races. You're into the book of the kit, right? And so it's like, sir, now we don't have to go. I don't have to worry about so much. You can put some more stats into him, give him some good things. He's got 25% Terminator to start rip.
And as far as comp goes, probably like Kira L3, unless that'd be my guess, because Kira doesn't actually need the turn meter if you're like stunning or shredding them, because
she's there for her unique for the most part, right?
and then she actually helps you lap slightly
with the AoE stagger. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll give you a fun one we could try, and I've watched it. Fatal did it on his video too, and just thinking about 25% turn meter, putting good old Candy Cane on that team and DBB on there, a full dark side team, and let those dudes run. Your Candy will go forever. So and then you're already getting in all of the advanced setup from DBB. He's a monster. His the way he'll work his things. It's like, to me, that's awesome.
It took Balin for Dad Bod Boba to do any damage in GAC.
So
yeah, Dad Bod's good on that team too. If you want to go full dark side.
Well, for the folks at home, what are the benefits? So Canderous, he's going to gain turn meter. I want to say like 3 times, right, on his basic like that. With Hondo,
your whole team.
Sorry, go ahead.
Your whole team generates a Terminator train whenever you get resisted. So Canderous having dogship potency is a boon for the team, where like his AoE is just like 100% team TM because he's gonna land nothing.
Is it?
Yep. And then Dad Bod Boba, you just keep slamming AoEs, and that's also just basically like getting Captain Rex farm up.
I see. So yeah, I mean he'll get resisted enough. The Dad Bod Boba, I get that, but doesn't Canderous on his second or third attack apply tenacity down? So
basic, I think, is tenacity down.
Right. Which is going to be going that basic. But I forget which one of those attacks in the basic.
To Fatal's point, if he does not get called to assist and then you lead with the AoE, you've already started your train, and by the time you're basicing, the whole team is like in DI?
Yeah.
Stunned?
You have won the video game at that point.
The whole team is in DI and stunned, and it's like, that's cool, I guess.
You've literally got the cheat code with the data crod to do it. It's just there.
Yeah, like there's an argument to, like, you can kill... Like, you'll probably have Ray basically dead, and then you'll have to wait for Ben to come out of, like, stun to be able to kill. Right? Like, you're going to kill everyone so fast that, like, you're just going to be sitting there beating Ray while you're waiting for Ben to come out of stun or DI, and then Ray probably ults.
To that point, Dad Bod Boba also does AoE tenacity down, so, like for me, I think the default that I tend to think of is Hondo Canderous. Not that Dad Bod Boba is bad by any means, the synergy on paper is clear, but Hondo also does some interesting things with piggybacking on Canderous turn meter and sort of...
Right.
It's not a turn meter train because Hondo has a 1 per turn gap, but yeah, I would say like the top 3 choices are Canderous, Hondo, Dad Bod Boba.
I'll give you a fun one.
And also, before you say that, TJ, that stacking defense call out in Balin's leadership for Hondo is something that I am kind of loath to give up. But right now feels like a time where it could be right to do it, only because you have a dedicated Hondo cron that you might, part out and use him elsewhere. Otherwise, man, outside of a Hondo cron, I do think he's a locked fourth for me on that team. I don't see why I wouldn't want to lean into those benefits with
I'll
it.
give you
But
a-
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like that could be the case, but yeah, it's the point we're basically like beating the dead horse we're basically beating here is Balin is just coded to beat Ray the same way like Starkiller kind of was. So just enjoy your wins.
I just want to give one more caveat as a like potential fifth. If you're putting DBB in, Zam is a mercenary. Zam with Omi giving out more could be a lot of fun too. I don't know that the time.
Only DBB.
That,
Right?
I'm okay with that because Balin doesn't need it. It doesn't matter. That's
Yeah, no, I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying. I'm just playing with the fun. It's like it's just a fun idea
I
of the
respect the
mercenary
thought
setup.
exercise, but for me, I would label that in my mind as squandering because I make good use of bounty hunters.
It's just an idea. Like I said, we're calling it and going out with it. I don't disagree with
respect
anything.
that.
I
I
think
respect
Hondo
that.
obviously is going to be
I
there.
don't appreciate the fact that TJ is willing to present us with a broken pencil, and say, "See, something new."
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Sorry,
Next
TJ.
question. Yeah,
Oh,
still.
it was good, man. It's a good call.
Oh, these are great questions. I love this set that we've got here. Next one up here from me as well. Last one from me as well, really. Do you have an ideal team comp and Datacron for using Great Mothers on Rey, Ufu, or Leia? Well, first of all, if we're talking about Rey, Ufu, where Exile Ezra is present, I don't know.
Count me out.
I don't really see that one working out, buddy. Like, Great Mothers ain't what it used to be without its Kron gone. But feel free to disabuse me of that assumption, guys. Tell me that Great Mothers is stomping Apex Predator Ray.
I don't think Great Mothers is like. Like the Datacron was very insane. That like it'll be a step down from that. I don't think they're in a bad spot, but I'm not going to be fucking holding them. So
Yeah, that's where I'm
Fair.
at too. Like, so when I find out what they beat, I will use them to beat something. Until then, they are to me they're still a better puzzle than they are an answer.
Yeah,
we
I mean, we know
have
from
1,000 answers for
Right.
things that anyway.
I'm sure that it's occurring to at least some of us to, if you were going to hold her for offense, maybe as like a queen counter or something like that, because that got proved out in 3 versus 3. And I feel like even though, everybody gets to be stronger in 5 versus 5 with a full team, I feel like that balance tilts more towards Great Mother's way. So
I don't know. I think it's hard to evaluate because the Great Mothers in 3v3 has the same upside as Queen Amidala in 3v3, which is they get to use their best characters for the most part. Once you start adding more characters, like I don't know how good Great Mothers are going to be against like Echo.
Yeah, fair point.
Man.
There's I'm open to being wrong, but we're all kind of this is a thought exercise.
I'm just saying I
going into
wouldn't
this
say that because it works in 3s, that's for sure going to be the same in 5s.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like the theory for why it could work was proven in 3s, and I'm thinking that it's worth trying. I'm right there with you. I'm not saying anything's guaranteed. There could be a variety of team comps. No doubt that if it does prove effective in week 1, people are going to be thinking about tech for week 2 against it. Maybe something like you just said with Echo thrown in there. Not that he wouldn't otherwise be in there because he's a fairly regular cast member with Queen on defense. Yeah. But I take your point. Yeah. If you were going to keep her for offense, though, it would be, I would think something like that. Otherwise, I'm inclined, like these other guys, to have her on defense. I don't put the love that I put into teams like that to keep them for offense unless there's a really compelling reason. Like me keeping this to be clean against Queen or something even better than that allows me to set X hard team on defense instead. That's the kind of trade that I would think in terms of. But
ever since Fatal showed us that JML versus Queen Amidala thing, like I feel like that's one of the cheaper trades.
Yeah, but I tried that in 3 versus 3, and I went and looked up after I lost my ass on it.
I'm talking about 5s.
Yeah. I know. I know we're all on 5s. I'm saying, like, does that...
You lost it?
I lost it because I don't have your modding with the high defense, the defense sets. I was more or less running standard, and I just got slapped out eventually by POW. Like, we lasted a good long while, but eventually... it became a problem.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha.
So don't let. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. Your thing works, and I know, Dagger. I think you were winding up to say that in 5s it's probably a little less mod dependent or a little more forgiving than in 3s.
It's a lot easier because you get Cal, JKL, Zaris, and Jolie. Have fun beating me.
Sure. Sure.
Were you running the light side bulk level 3?
No, I was running a
Yeah,
96% Procron in 3 versus 3.
Yeah, that I would honestly say that's probably why. If you're just like on full protection modding,
Yeah, because I didn't have the health to deal with the disrupt, and then no, you're right. Yeah, I only did it the one time, and as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, I bet you it's because of the JML modding. And then I went and looked up your mod, and it's like, yeah, that's a bunch of defense sets.
That modding was not for that counter. I was wondering what that counter before I had that modding. That modding was because I wanted to post it on defense. I was like, I don't know. This might be funny if a dash player just had to like ram his face into this. But yeah, no, because you the moment that you walk into that matchup, you have already won it, and so your only job is to not die in the process. That like you don't need to worry about like your like I know that the level 3 bulk doesn't scale with lessons, but we don't have to give a shit because we already take that shit anyway. So yeah, even if you have like bog standard TW compliance JML modding, like a level 3 bulk should get you there pretty comfortably.
Dig that.
This is like an insane pop.
Dig that. But back to the spirit of the question, guys. Sorry, I appreciate you guys indulging me, but I took us off course. The question was, for using Great Mothers potentially against Reufu, so I think we all kind of poo-pooed that, but against Leia, you think there's some teeth to that? And if yes, what's the cron? Okay,
I'm going to be honest, I don't know the kits of the Great Mothers well enough to like be able to line up how it's going to play out. But I know how everybody's like, "Oh, look at my built Morgan," and Drogon's like, "Well, what if I just like don't care about your prot?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's like you mod for the use case. So like if that's something that you're worried about, then yeah, you'd probably remod for that way too.
Well, I'm just taking the spirit of the question. Like I would want to remod my Morgan before even having the conversation. Is what I'm saying.
In the spirit of the question, how do Great Mothers look against Darkside Ray? You've got a lot of foresight. You've got a lot of healing when you get swiped by AoEs.
I actually like that a lot. I like it better than versus Leia for sure.
Okay, so a potential solution here in week 2. Yeah, I wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, Miaswell was asking this in terms of Leia. I wasn't really thinking about it like you guys. I'm not really thinking about Great Mothers versus Leia myself. But yeah. Think about. I don't know, that week 2 is good. So that would probably be best with a stacking offense level 3, or what are we talking about? Are we doing turn meter?
Bulk
dark side, so you're still running set 18 for that.
You can't do turn meter against Hux. I think that gets blocked.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
I think.
Yeah. Good point.
Again, that goes back to the load-in question of do you load in with turn meter with Hux there because he doesn't have advantage yet.
Okay. All right, but, good.
Anyway, I digress. In the spirit of the actual... I guess to answer the actual question, I think it would depend on the Leia comp. Because if they're doing like some old Ben Baze thing and like Drogon's their only real damage dealer, I'm sure with a bulk level 3, you can like outlast them and try and chip down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you can slug it out. If they have like multiple damage dealers there, I just really worry for the safety of your tank between like the AoE fracture and, ignoring prot and ignoring taunt. Like I just worry for the long-term health of your team. But yeah, if you have like a bulk level 3 and they're doing like Baze old Ben, like sure, go for it. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's a good percentage of the time if you are at relic parity, you can just overwhelm them with Doom.
Doesn't Leia have like anti-stealth mechanics?
Yeah, yes, she does.
Yeah, and ignore taunt AoE like full team ignore taunt with.
Yep. So that counters a lot of the defensive. Because remember, with the Great Mothers, we only have one life to live. So yeah, if we're immediately having our defensive mechanics like stealth just gobbled up.
I'd also hazard to say, if you're even trying to consider that, just consider who you're trying to put on the team. Yep. Just saying the word Great Mothers, I understand it would be, we're all like assuming like we're putting the bros, we're putting some, just you don't get to just put anybody on your team and like that's going to take it out.
Yeah, I was specifically that level. I was specifically thinking of the core of Spirit,
Got it.
DTP Morgan.
Right. This is why I'm saying this, right? It's like, just don't
Yeah.
assume, because all of these are nice sisters, like all of them go on the team, and it's no. Determine who you're going against, and at that level, know that the higher the level, the more you need on that team.
Yeah, if you take Knight DTP and they have like 2 tanks, or if they have like extra tanks on the team, like they're light on damage, I'm sure you can brute force it with bulk. A percentage of the time. I'm not saying you win every time, right? But like, I'm sure that I don't know where the slider is. Maybe like 70%, right? Like if you have like the Prettier Brothers, Spirit, Morgan, and Great Mothers, I think that there's like an over 2/3 chance that you can just brute force them if they have like Kane and Old Ben. You know what I mean?
The more I
Junder's
sit
gonna
with
do a lot
it,
of lifting. Sorry. What?
the more I sit with it, the more I'm hating it, actually. And I think Leia sounds deeply unpleasant unless it's like a walkover team.
You're talking like multiple tanks and Drogon's the only damage?
Yeah, if we're talking like a Baze or Chariot, like fucking weird thing that your
that's what I was
opponent is
saying,
just
too.
like, yeah.
Like I would only even enter the battle against Drogon being the only attacker, I think.
Oh my god, Baze in there would be really bad. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Leia seems very well equipped to handle it.
Yeah, so short, wrapping that question up for you, Miasmal, I'm not so sure about Great Mothers on either Rey or Leia. Seek another challenger. The princess is not in this castle. Okay, next question.
That's a good reference.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right, next question here from Squed. Has anyone got any outside the box ideas for how to use Snow Trooper and their Datacron? Seems it could or maybe have potential beyond just the Trooper home. So just beyond necessarily an Imperial Trooper team. Let me pull up Snow here so we got it on screen. Yeah, whenever Snow Trooper critically hits an enemy, Snow Trooper gains DI for a turn, which can't be copied, 25% turn meter, blinds the enemy for 1 turn, which can't be evaded or resisted. If the enemy was target locked, Snow Trooper also gains protection up, 100%, stacking, retribution, and speed up for 2 turns. What you guys think? Plug and play use somewhere? Outside of Trooper's team?
I have nothing to add to this conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can. He actually works as a pretty good mod locker for me this week. That you can check out that functionality.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said
He's the mod locker for Fatal. That's what he say. Fatal is called out saying Snow holds his luggage. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Other places outside of Troopers is a tough ask because the Datacron directly ties into that, and he loves the buffs and things like that. So just saying, it's like, I think he's amazing in getting to use it in 3s. I'm looking forward to using it in 5s. That would be one I'd be interested to see where somebody else is going to try that, right? I think
so. To be clear, though, what you're vouching for then is, this is just going to be with like your Iden team on defense.
Can't see how you get anywhere, right? Because it's like he needs protection and he needs stuff. Veers gives him stuff. And then that ties into why he gets to ramp so much faster and do so many more things. Yes, you can.
So we're talking about Veers, not Iden.
No.
No, I'm saying you can put him on Iden.
The question was on
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm telling you. It's like, I don't know how, because even if you put an invest, make him a Relic 9-star trooper with a heavy mod investment, he's still squishy as shit. So where are you putting him that he's not going to just get deleted? He needs something else to help back him up. That's why I said that's to say non-trooper. I'd be welcome to see where it's at. The only thing I came up with in my head would be something along the lines of maybe a Vader. But again, what does that really add?
So exactly, really that's going back to a broken pencil type of thing.
That's what I'm telling you. Yeah, that's why. No.
But let's make sure that we can send Squed home with something, okay? So Snow Trooper outside of Trooper's team is not sounding like a great value, not a great play. But inside a Trooper's team, what's the top use? Are you thinking?
I will give you the only answer I think that we can kind of give you, and that is, if you are an industrious and clever man, I'm sure you can find a use. Because I just checked our pings, and be creative. You'll figure it out. Outside of that, you'll find out after week 1. But I know
what you're talking about. Yes, I know what you're saying. Thank you, Dagger, for saying that. But no, I get what you're saying. His level of where he presses can be really high, is what I would give, but it's inside troopers. So to point
Yeah.
the question and give the answer outside, I don't see it. He needs to back up another support, but inside troopers all the way up. If he's got multiple characters to hit, like I said, I had it and I saw that their win rates in threes beating up Saws. We're talking those are good teams, Saw Luthans and stuff like that. Non-Cracks. Let me comment. Non-Cracks. It had a really high win rate in threes. Now you're going to give him 2 more characters, so it's the more he has and the more he gets to play, the more he's going to do.
Yeah,
And as long as there's
every single Geo team you find because they have 6.
that's what I'm saying. He's got give him multiple characters, he's good.
Yeah, well, reading between the lines there about what you guys are saying, I mean, well, I'm sure there's some interesting punch-up counter, but if it is what I'm thinking it is, then it's going to be involving General Veers on attack, and we're just going to be turn meter looping to crap. So if you're looking for a clever offensive application, I guess experiment with this this character, under Veers' lead. And if you're not otherwise enterprising, with Iden is probably not a bad way to go, especially if you have a setup like this with the 3-6, like the buffs up on 3 and then grit. That's a tough customer. So you might try that.
Well, also the 100%, giving him the 100% when you're full because you start the fight doing damage already. And that's already leading into him to be able to do things. So the 100% will be great for him under the Iden setup because also you have everything else to help build a crit chance and the amount of damage. You can put less damage because your Kron can carry the weight.
Okay, good stuff. All right, next question here from Stryker. Are there any must-have Datacron setups that are more useful in 5 vs 5 that weren't usable in 3 vs 3? I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not really thinking of any.
I would give you one that we could not use that I think there might be some merit, the tie-in. The crit damage. Look, range for sure, but like just to level 3. When you hit 4 people with the same the crit damage boost
good
could be a fun one now because we have it to be able to do. So
it's probably not generically better than bulk, but to your point, if you were going to get use of it at all, it's going to be in 5s.
Right. That's the idea, is that if you're saying what's not in 3s, you can't use that at all in 3s because you can't hit the targets. In 5, you can at least do something with that. So there's more room to play with it.
I will say Stormtrooper Han didn't really get any play for me in 3s, and I wonder, I don't know, bulk 3, I've got riposte on the 6 here. I wonder if this might see more service with Leia this season, something like that.
Maybe. The only thing I worry about is that it's not he gains more bulk per amplifier level, it's the damage.
That level 9 was awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't know how good. 5 more per relic amplifier level. So let's just pretend it's 5 R9s. That's 45. What is that? 45 times 5. Fuck, that's 225. I want to say. How much more damage is 225% more damage from a Stormtrooper Han, who only uses his basic?
But it's got that high damage variant, so it's a chaos factor, right?
Yeah.
I think you have, if we're going level 9s, if we want to go level 9s, I think there's a lot more rebel usage in these level 9s here in 5s than there is in 3s. The number of 3 caps you to doing a lot of things, but like your Han getting to come back has more merit to me right now because you have 5 characters, right? And the one thing about it is, even if he dies, to give me another chance to fight the fight, that should be a good punch up. C3PO has great use with the turn meter reduction on a team set up that way. I could see that pulling in. So it's like, I think the Rebels have a lot more merit right now because you have those 2 extra slots than you did in 3s.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest winners are going to be Cal Kestis and Range Trooper. I think people are going to find really interesting ways to use both of those level 9s. Yeah,
that Cal one, dude. You don't think it's much. That is much.
Yeah, unkillable fucking Cal, man. And when you
but realistically, we're not talking about whether or not that is good. Like, where are you going to run that? With Malicos, you're going to be probably doing Star Killer, or if not Star Killer, maybe
Ray.
But if you're doing Ray, we just had a long discussion about you're probably doing.
In my opinion, you do not need Cal if you're doing Star Killer with Seer.
Let's rewind to that conversation. What team were we talking about people using against Ray?
Yeah, Seer Malicos. Yeah.
But you don't need Cal.
No, hold on. With
So
what?
you're saying with Cal in there, but I thought
No.
we're talking
No.
Starkiller
We
Crown.
were talking about Seer Malicos with Starkiller.
Right, with Starkiller
Right.
Crown. Right, yes.
Yeah.
You don't need Cal.
Yes,
And what
you
I'm
don't need
saying
Cal
is-
at all, yeah.
And the point I'm trying to make is that Cal is good against Seer Malicos without Starkiller.
Okay.
It's
Well,
good against
you're doing-
Starkiller.
You're
Like-
doing a dark side bulk, and you can get 2 more characters. Crew, you're gonna want Crew on your Sir Maliko Star Killer team.
Yeah,
That's
for
just
sure.
an added, but that's what I'm saying. You don't need Cal
You can also
for that Star Killer team.
Fun fact. You can also put Cal on your Ahsoka team.
You could. Yes, you could. All right, well, guys, we're getting closer towards needing to wrap up, so let me make sure we get through the last few of these questions, and then we'll get about it. Next up here from Ibanek. Yeah, he was asking Ezra's home in 5. So I think, unless any of you guys disagree, the summation on that is with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, if you have her, in 5s here. Certainly if you're putting her on defense anyway. And if you don't, then with Rey is going to be the home. Anything you guys want to tack on to that one?
I think even if you have Ahsoka, you could still put Ezra on the Rey team to give it that much
Fatal
more.
was saying, I don't think so to that.
No,
I-
absolutely not. Unless you save your Ahsoka for offense now. If you're putting Ahsoka on defense.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like the one immutable fact is that Ezra goes on defense. So it's
Yes.
with either Ahsoka or if you're moving Ahsoka to offense, then with Rey. But defense it is for Ezra.
Perfect. All right, well, kind of a tie-in right off of that. Ahsoka on offense or defense. Yeah, I mean, my inclination is, since, we discussed earlier that if you're going to set her down, you'd be willing to commit fulcrum to it to stop anything cheap. That's kind of the incentive here in week 1 is like, okay, so I'm trying to block out something cheap. What exactly are you going to do about this? And see if that becomes a standard team for defensive this season going into the second week, or am I looking to mix it up? But I think I will be running her on defense to see what it buys. How about you guys?
I think if you were trying to get an edge against your opponent, what I would do is probably put Rey Ezra in the back and hold your Ahsoka for offense, because they're going to save a counter for Rey and a counter for Ahsoka to get to your back wall.
Yeah.
And I think having that extra GL on offense is going to benefit you against the myriad of random crap you're going to see on defense week 1.
I think Ahsoka on offense is there, but I think you need to have a plan for what you're going to do with her. It's not just, I want to keep her to use her. I would want to know exactly what I'm intending to use her for. You have data crowns, you have everything else that ties into it as well. And it's not a bad call out from Dagger to say, well, it's back there, maybe it's not. And then what do you have to do to earn it back there? And then surprise, right? But Ahsoka just feels like such a natural place on defense.
It beats Traya without Ezra.
It beats a lot, right? Her punch
but
actually does.
I'm just saying you're trading it for their very best B team that they set. Without Ezra.
Yeah. All right.
If you don't have Ezra. I mean, if you have Fulcrum, maybe it punches up higher. But I would probably put my back wall would probably be Rey and then Malicos with Fulcrum.
That's a good one.
Right? I'm just saying if you're looking to get an edge, everyone's going to assume it's on defense, so just let them assume.
Yeah. Oh,
They're gonna
yeah,
have to
that's
save
smart
counters.
too. But that's gamesmanship. That sounds like week 2, week 3 shit for me.
No, that's week 1 because everyone expects you to put the new thing down week 1 that
It
doesn't
can
have an answer.
absolutely be a week
Okay,
one.
I see you.
It can
I see you.
There's no data. You have
The-
nothing to work
me-
off of, and you
I
only
see
have so
you.
many teams
Sure.
to use.
You would have to assume it's there if you don't see it. I see. I grant that.
Yeah, and if you save a counter that's going to beat the best, if you're forced to save something that beats Rey Ezra and something that beats Ahsoka with Fulcrum to get to the back wall, how cheap can you go on my front wall? How much are you going to mess up on my front wall? How cleanly are you going to get through my front wall? And in this season, I think that's enough.
Okay.
Unless your opponent saves 8 GLs, then fuck you.
All right. last real question here is any plans to change the first order modding / turn orders in preparation of Darkside Ray next week? That's an excellent question.
Can I hijack this question with the
Please.
question that I've been sitting on?
Sure, yeah, okay, sure, go for it. Yeah, please. I didn't know you were sitting on something. Go.
Hey, what's the team for SLK now?
Okay.
That was already a 6-man team before, and now it's a 7-man team.
So Slacker.
Who do you cut?
Slacker, Hux. Surely you still need a tank. So if it's not going to be Crew, then it would have to be Faust, Ray, and then what? Red?
No. I think this actually makes the First Order team an exact 5-man team. So it's going to be Kylo, Ray, Red, Faust, Hux.
Okay, that's what I said. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm saying it's the opposite of what Fatal said. I think getting Ray means you no longer have to waffle between double tank or double support. Now it's just Faust as the tank because Crew's better elsewhere, and the dispel on basic paired with the assist on basic paired with the turn meter when he taunts.
Yes, the Faust effects synergize well. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially now with Ray bulking them by taking away turn meter when things die, it means Faust is just going to be tanky, and he's going to be counterattacking, etc. And now you don't have to worry about, man, do I take officer or do I take Crew? No. Now you just have your 5th.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That really feels like the team, right? Just everything about the mechanic is there because you're not keeping Hux off that team, so that's an automatic add right there, right? And you do want some kind of disruption for the tank, so it's like Faust is the moneymaker right there, and counter with the potential to call assist. So all of it feels like that's a very necessary setup.
Okay.
The only one I could see being pulled off is if you could find some other use for Red. The problem is I just don't. If you don't use Red with like Slacker, where are you using Red?
And it just feels doesn't. I don't know if you feel any different, but it's like the team feels so much easier redless. That doesn't feel like the same thing. You're going to put Boo in place of Red
in his own right. Sure.
It dispels and everything else to lengthen the fight out, and those blasts are going to hurt you. So that's just even more reason to have it set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything else, Fatal? Like, I mean, I understand what you were saying, but like, as far as the rebuttal goes, like, or
not anything specific. I do think it's interesting that officer is one of the only ways to remove turn meter, but I mean, my thoughts will depend on reacting to whatever the popular counter is. But it was just like SLK has shifted between 2 tank and 2 support that like depending on the opener, first order officer might end up being like actually pretty like crucial, and then all of a sudden it's like, are you running tankless and just banking on the team immortality clause, or
you can turn Slacker into the tank with that ability.
100% defense for 1 turn does not a tank.
No, but he can't be defeated. So why not?
Okay, well, yeah, fine, but I don't know who is instantly defeating like that anyway. The Slacker.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you go tankless, the other thing to remember too is I do agree that Red seems redundant or unnecessary on that team at this point. So I could see like the argument of officer over Red, but again, like I just don't know where you use Red at that point, and maybe you just don't need him.
Yeah, I think that on defense probably Red, but if you wanted to have like a really clean, closed loop to that first Slack roll, you might take Fu on offense type of thing is what immediately jumps out at me. But they
were showing 3-manning, so you could just take Hux, and you don't even need all the team to be able to do what you want to do to beat almost any team. You could literally just take Ray and Hux, and you stop turn meter, and they can't kill him. So you're controlling the fight.
Also, to be clear, not to be clear, but to answer the actual question being asked, I think you have to really take inventory of how fast you want your Hux to be, and then you want to keep your officer 1 speed faster, and then I think, or 2 speed or whatever, a couple speed faster, and then I think you want to take your Faust and bring him up to the bottom of Hux. So that way, the moment Hux takes his turn, Faust goes pumping Terminator to the team.
So that means a speed set then, because Faust isn't like super fast. So with normal bulk sets, I don't think
Well,
he's.
Hux is also slow as shit. Is basically.
Well, yeah, I guess I have. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Then it might be doable in bulk mods. Okay, so raise up the slowest. Raise up the slowest. Your tank to be just under Hux is interesting. Okay.
Hold on, I'm looking up the base speed of Faust because I do think you're right. He's slow, but question is how slow. Yeah, base speed 136. Hux's base speed is 140 something. I want to say it's 160. Wow, he's way faster than I thought. Yeah, so you will have to have a speed set.
Yeah,
but the other thing you have to remember is that Hux functions fine at like 300 based on how Terminator works.
Sure.
So getting your cost up to 300 is not like an absurd ask, or 290.
Yeah, right. It doesn't need to be super crazy fast. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. I'm glad we got that one answered. And I think one last question to throw on top to you, Dagger. When is Dagger planning to play with the big kids in Kyber 1 again? That's really up to you, man. What do you got to say for yourself?
You can fight me outside in real life or with Swuggy accounts. Take your pick. I don't know who asked, and I don't care.
Okay, well,
Ibanez
looking to square up
the
with
next
you.
president.
Ibanez looking to square up with you is what he's saying. Yeah.
Excuse me, the
You
next
can fight me
president
outside
election.
IRL, or you can fight my account with your account. Come get some.
That's right. See me. Yep. See me. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You know the things we used to listen to when we were in high school? We used to burn them on our computers? Yeah, CDs.
All right, guys, that brings us to the end. These are really great patron questions, by the way. You guys you outdid yourselves. Great discussion points. We were talking in the pre-show that it seemed like we had kind of a light-duty episode, and I was worried about having enough to talk about, but you guys filled in the blank just fine. I know Sasha's really getting tight on time, so when we're going to do the outro, and I usually like to go in order, but let's get Sasha first so that he can hit the road. Before we take off here, Sasha, what you got to say to the people?
So first week. Sorry, actually, let me get to a place with less of an echo. But first week of a new season, always interesting in that everybody's sort of flying half blind, figuring out what the counters are and everything else. What I'm actually excited about, and I love those environments because they tend to be messy, they tend to be informative. There are like a lot of fun matches. And what I'm really excited about for this season is we're getting like basically multiple iterations of that huge disruptive moment, because first week is going to be like any new season with a lot of that mess, and then the next week we get the Dark Ray, and I'm just going in with general enthusiasm and excitement about the kind of low level degree of chaos that I'm hoping is going to happen for the next 2 weeks. I share the general fear, and everybody knows I don't like efficiency battles, but I'm hopeful that there's enough change in the meta in the ecosystem now to keep the next couple of weeks actually pretty fun. So that's my optimistic view.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I think none of us really want to see things come down to a season of matches where nobody's dropping and it's decided on something like less than 10 banners. It's
Speak for yourselves.
Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, I'm still in Kyber 3. That's why this.
Yeah, I was about to say. Wait till you actually have to fight grown-ups.
Be a big boy one day.
A couple
one
months
day
back,
Dagger gets to play with us.
A couple months back, Dagger was showing up in like full football pads to a kindergarten and just thrashing children about. That's what he was doing in Carbonite. Working his way, or wherever he was. Where were you at your lowest? Were you in Chromium ever?
Bronzium 4.
Jeez, man. So, yeah, you were down there beating up actual kindergartners, and now you've graduated. I give you credit. You are beating up, like, 10-year-olds now, and that's fine.
I am beating up a guy with
talk to me when you're beating up somebody that's got their man voice, a little broadness to the shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
I need you to understand that I'm the guy I'm fighting, God rest his soul, is 9.3 million with 4 GLs in Kyber 3.
Yeah.
He is performing admirably. And at the end of the day, he's going to be much like Tasnix, face down, ass up, being pile driven by one of his betters.
It happens More often than I'd like, but less often than I probably deserve. That's my
I'm just
story, and
glad.
I'm sticking
I'm
to
just
it.
glad. I would hope one time is too many, but that's fine. To each their own.
Yeah.
turns
Again, I'm not saying I'm seeking the experience, but all very fair.
it turns out when he named the show the PNS, it's because that's what he was taking.
That's where it came from.
You were supposed to work
Specifically
all of
Aesop.
this out of your system in the pre-show and in the previous recordings. Shame on
I
you.
needed to get one in there.
Uh-huh.
I needed to get one.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, since you're hijacking off of this, yeah. So, anything else you have to say, Dagger? The ray of sunshine that you are.
No, I actually echo Sasha's sentiments. I have hope for this Bad Batch team, and I have hope for this Ray. And I think that the next set of Datacrons is going to go a long way. Like, I think it almost has to, in reinstating like some kind of defense, like on the crons or whatever. So I think we're gonna. There's light at the end of the tunnel for having puzzles on defense, and I think that this is the first time I've been optimistic about being able to actually set a reasonable defense in 5v5 for a while.
Fair. All right. TJ, how about you? Your thoughts heading into this first week of Grand Arena?
Ready for Ray round 2. No, when it comes to what I'm looking forward to, honestly, getting full 5 characters, obviously the cheesy is going to be there. But I do want to see what fun you get to have doing some of the other things. Like, what do you get to do with your troopers? It'd be cool to see. Do we get to push some of these other non-standard things against some higher level teams? That's like the question about Mon Mothman, how we get to push. I want to see. That'd be fun to do. Veers with the Snow Trooper, I had a lot of fun. I am excited to see if I get to do Snow Trooper or Magma Trooper or what is it? What does it get to kill that's not what we already all know about? Just things like that, man. And can I create, as Fado would say it, or the other team, new questions, new puzzles that may stop you up?
All right, dig that. And of course, yeah, let's go ahead and turn to Fatal. So, what's top of mind for you going into this first round of the week? What are you looking forward to? What are your highest hopes for the season? So on and so forth.
I don't know. I'm kind of no thoughts, head empty at the moment. Just kind of waiting for Ray, and I guess I will. If the season goes the way I expect, then I will be looking for ways to find the fun and keep things interesting, even if they otherwise kind of aren't.
Do what I do, man. I mean, I know you said you weren't necessarily want to do it, but knuckle down, dedicate yourself to do what the dub requires, and get yourself out of that range.
That the dub requiring that kills my interest in the game, so it's kind of a
think of it like this. Think of it like this. It's like homework, because if you do your homework in 5s, when we go again back to 3s, where the game is much more fun, now you're fighting, more real opponents.
I know.
Just do
also
the
signing up
needful, Fatal. Sweat through it. Do what you must.
It's signing up to fight people who are like, holy fuck, I love doing homework, and it's like,
okay. You want it. You say you don't front on me here like you're not actually wanting.
No, I want real matchups. I don't want real cheese matchups.
Oh yeah, no, they're not all cheese, man. Trust me, they are up here. I'm not trying to say that they're rare. They're reasonably common, but they're not all. I would say they're not even the majority. I would say more people are trying to make something of it, but yes, there are folks that are super duper hyper competitive and they're not willing to risk anything on you, and they're going to try and beat you by 6.
Yeah,
I
don't know. We'll see. I'm not dooming on the season. I just have no idea what the fuck this season is going to be for me. So I'm just going in with an open mind and open eyes and
managed expectations.
If I get bored enough, I'll just fucking R9 my entire Mon Mothma team and post about defense, and that will be my insanity for the season. Who knows?
I would be interested to hear. Yeah. I guess, I imagine with the Imperial Trooper Crown and Iden existing, that's probably not going to go great, but I'd be
it's a fucking gas. Yeah, just slap a Rapostacron and then Gaseous won't die. Yeah.
Hey.
Great defense team.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, hey, before I give my thoughts and close us out, as the only other content creator on the podcast, where can the good folks find you, Fatal?
Twitch.tv/Playbook TV.
That's right. Any stumping you want to offer about YouTube? Any progress report? I know a couple months back you told us, I want to say you told us a month ago that you were thinking by the end of first quarter you might have something cooked up for us on YouTube. How's without prying any details out of you, how's that coming along?
I am currently taking courses for helping me complete the vision that I have in mind. So yeah, it's a not a long thing, but I am relearning some stuff that I used to know, and I am learning some stuff that I was never actually taught by a college education because our education system is a lovely place. But yeah,
wow, I'm
it's
really
still
curious.
a work in progress. It is still happening. It is not mothballed.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm curious. You got me on the hook, so we'll keep an eye open.
I know that I'm being cagey for this long is fucking stupid. But I think if I can reach the final vision, it will be worth it. So
no, I don't think you're being cagey. Cagey is just saying, "Oh, just you wait, guys. It's just around the corner. Ooh, just you wait." No, you told us it's medium term, and yeah, thanks for the progress report. We'll keep our eyes open. All right, guys, we've reached the end of the show, and for my part, wrapping up, I've just been tuning up characters in the off season, so I was just trying to think about the teams that I enjoy most on defense, trying to make them oomph more. As far as preparing for Ray goes, I know that most folks are, farming up mods, whatever. I mean, I've got a big roster of rods. Jesus. Big roster of mods, man. But even I am panic farming to try and have the best options available for Ray. So if you're not already doing it, mash those speed sets. You probably have enough health sets to sacrifice from somebody else to boost her up here. But yeah, look for those health crosses, high speed, high offense. That's probably going to be the pain point for me and for most people, hence the panic farming. So look to that and be ready for all the fun that's coming here next week. And yeah, we'll see you to break down all the week 1 action this time next week. And until then, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.